I wanted to start with you first. There's a beautiful moment at the end of episode 110 where Dell acknowledges that because of her own grief, she wasn't there for Kat and Alice in the way that she wanted to. And you brought so much depth and nuance to this character and her journey. As an actor, how did you create the space for yourself to tackle that vulnerability? And how does that foundation from season one allow Dell to open up further in season two?
Well, it's the you have the whole journey to go through to figure out what this person feels inside. And I've lost my son, I've lost my husband, and you have to imagine how lonely her existence must be. And even if you try to fill your life up with your neighbors or your town, the loss of family is extreme, I think, for Dell. So having her daughter back and trying to make amends with her is a huge part of her life's journey. And getting her granddaughter finally, I think, is a huge part of filling a void that is very painful, even though I think she pretends that everything's okay and she fights really hard for everything that she has. It's a very lonely existence.
Sadie, so much of Alice's journey in season one is about finding her roots and place in the world, which you brought so much depth to. And because of that growth, she's able to show up for her mother and grandmother in new ways in season two. Who are the women in your own life who've shown up for you in a similar way? Did you channel any of them into your performance and these dynamics?
Yeah, I mean, a mother-daughter story is really important to me because of the relationship that I have with my own mother, and I don't call her my mother, I call her my mom, and my grandmother as well. And so I feel like it's a huge gift and a privilege to explore a story that represents the complexity of those relationships and how beautiful it is to know those women in your life and to have them in your life. And I think we see that in Dell's story. When she's missing that in her life, she doesn't have her daughter and she doesn't have her granddaughter. In season two, we see how they've grown together and how they depend on one another and how they couldn't be without each other. And you think about what that must have felt like for Dell and even for Alice to know that there's this warm family somewhere that she couldn't know because of what happened between her mom and her grandmother. Season two really goes in that direction, and we kind of really try and get to the bottom of what happened. Why wouldn't Kat ever come home, even though she went through all of these things with her mom by her side? What made her leave forever and not come back until she received that letter telling her to come home? So that's where we're headed.
It's like finding the pieces of a puzzle.
Exactly.
And putting it together.
Yeah, for sure.
The two of you are exceptional in this series. And Andie, Dell is somebody who's always there for her community, which we dive deeper into in season two. Who are the people in your own life who've shaped the storyteller that you are today?
I think life experiences teach you so much as an actor. I think it's like having a toolbox, a kit that you can rely on. Knowing what it is to be my age and knowing what it is to have needs and wants and desires. I think one of the beauties about being my age now is understanding and having empathy for other women who are like me and wanting to play a character that gives them pride and dignity to be an older woman. And I'm really impressed with Hallmark and these writers who are allowing me to play to have such dignity as a woman at 65. And there's great things that are going to happen in season two for my character that I'm really proud that Hallmark is doing, and really proud of these writers for giving me the opportunity to be like this for myself, in real life, and for other women to have those images of what it is to be an older woman and still be very vital.
Great teaser. And Sadie, one of the relationships that's so pivotal in Alice's life is her friendship with Elliot in the past and the present. And given the aftermath of everything that's happened in season one, that friendship and mentorship is strained heading into the new season. And each has to take accountability for their own part in that, which you brought so much depth to again. How did that collaboration with Evan and David differ this season, given where all these characters are? And how does that help Alice with her own development as a character?
Yeah, we see Elliot take the decision to leave behind this relationship he's worked for with Kat and prioritize himself after Alice came to him as a teenager and basically prophesized what the rest of his life would look like, and it didn't quite look like what he thought it was going to be. And so I think he felt really trapped. And as much as he tried, I don't know if he could separate how that changed the course of his life and how hard that was on him. And so I think Alice really needs to deal with the responsibility that she has to him, to be a good friend back to him, because he's done so much to support her in her time traveling. And then also just take ownership of how hard that was on him, going through everything with Jacob and losing Colton and losing Kat, because then ultimately she leaves Port Haven and we don't really know what that ending really looked like for them. And so I think she really has to fight for the relationship in a way that I think in season 1 she may have taken him for granted a little bit more. Mm-hmm. He challenges her and says, pushes her to be there for him in the way that he's been there for her.
Great answer. I got one final question for both of you, but it's such a testament to the writing and the performances across the board. But this is a show that you can watch over and over again, and you discover new things, which is so exciting for audience members. But I also imagine it's both exciting for you two as artists. What was the scene in season 1 that you read that you were most excited to jump into, and why?
Go ahead.
Okay. Season 1, a scene that I was really excited to jump into. I remember distinctly reading I think it was episode 7, where Team Kat, we all go to the New Year's party, and it's after the fallout of Jacob has been missing for some time now. We're seeing Del and Colton's relationship on the rocks, and Alice shows up, and Team Kat has decided, like, let's just go to a party and shake it off and like try and have a good night. And we start watching her get sort of out of control. And we see that this grief is really weighing on her, even though she's keeping up this brave face. And the party scene where there's the countdown to midnight, and she, at midnight, she falls to the ground and she says, I can't do this anymore. I can't be here without my brother. It's all my fault. And Alice really gets to be there for her. And that was a huge moment for Alex Hook, who plays Teen Kat. And it gave me chills on the page, and it gave me chills on the day, just watching her go through that and being there for her as Alice. I'll just always remember that scene as just a moment of growth where Alice really saw how much that year of her life took out of her as a person, and how hard it was on her. I saw Teen Kat as a grown-up for the first time. I was starting to make those connections to this is why my mom the way she is in the present day. And so that was something I don't think I'll ever forget filming that scene, and it stays with me. Yeah.
I didn't realize it when I read it, how much I was going to love it until I actually saw it. I did realize when I was shooting it, I was like, oh, this is good, was the scene in episode 9 where my husband comes back to me. And you physically see him, and it's like you don't know if he's there, if this is in my head or whatever, but you see him and you see us together again, me as an older woman and my husband who's been dead, and we dance together. And it was so tender because you could see the void, this woman who's so lonely, who's lost so much, having tenderness, having someone touch her. And I just found that to be a beautiful moment. It was so, and in fact, I think other people liked it so much that they continued to do it in season 2, because it was really powerful. I thought that it was I was surprised when I saw it. I could feel it when I was shooting it. I didn't know when I read it. It was only when I was shooting it that I recognized how good it was. And so I would say that scene probably was my favorite scene for my character in season 1.